Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about the 89 Camaro dyno results, and we're going to see how it stacks up against this 93 Fox body. If you've been following along with the Camaro series, the first thing we did was take a baseline on the car. Then we tried some physical parts like the airfoil and the cone filter. And we got nothing for the airfoil, a little bit for the cone filter, especially up top. Then we decided to move on to tuning changes. Now, it's not a full day dyno tuning session, it's kind of a quickie tune, but enough to get an idea of how making tuning adjustments will affect the performance of the car. Unfortunately, the sheets that I'm going to show you don't have the mixture log on them, because what we ended up doing was using the wideband system that Ernest has installed in the car with his ALDL droid for data logging, and we based our changes on the data log that came back from that wideband. So it doesn't show up on the dyno sheet, but I can tell you on the initial passes, the car ran around 11.4 to 1 mixture. That's way too rich for a naturally aspirated car. So the first step was to lean it a little bit. So we brought the mixture up to about 12.5 to 1. That's probably not quite as lean as I would put it in a full day tuning session, but it's right in the neighborhood and it'll run fine there. Moving the mixture from 11.4 to 12.5 to 1 resulted in a reasonable performance improvement. Now, after we had the mixture about right, I took a look at the timing, and in my judgment, the timing was set too aggressively on the car. Now, I know most of you guys are going to think, oh, I'll just keep adding timing and that's going to add power. But there's an optimal timing point for every engine. And if you get too much timing, it makes less power, just like if you have too little timing. So it looked to me like it was set a little bit high, maybe a little aggressively. So I backed the timing off a little bit, and I backed the ramp rate, which is the speed at which timing is added under wide open throttle, off a little bit. And that resulted in an improvement as well. After spending a little more time tweaking the tune-up on the car, we ended the day with peak-to-peak gains of about 8 wheel horsepower and about 5 wheel foot-pounds. However, when you look at the dyno sheets, you can see that the gains are considerably stronger in the upper RPM range, and those gains up top will really help the car on the drag strip. Honest to God, the best improvements we got were from tuning.
Yeah, for sure. Power enrichment, some from timing tweaks.
Yeah, the car was set too rich, so we leaned it out a little bit. We got it ultimately down around 13 to 1 from about 11.4 where it started. And the timing was too aggressive. And so we backed the ramp rate off on the timing and backed the total off a little bit, and we got repeatable gain on that too. Comparing the two cars, obviously the Camaro has a 50 cubic inch displacement advantage over the Mustang. It's torqueier, there's no two ways about that. But from a power standpoint, our sort of final setup on this car, on this Mustang, versus the baseline on the Camaro, we're within about 7 horsepower. And after all the changes were done to the Camaro, we were still within about 15 horsepower. So a little bit better than the fridge. It's a 50 cubic inch displacement advantage, and this car is actually quite a bit further along mod-wise than the fridge is. I mean, you've replaced the engine management system. We do have tuning in the car. It's got a off-road exhaust, 3-inch, but it's a single on these cars, not a dual. It's got it had K&N filters. It's got this air filter change. So there's a few fair number of things
But
that
realistically,
are
the two are pretty closely matched, I think.
yeah, this car's heavier.
Yeah, exactly.
We haven't actually weighed it. Maybe one of these days we'll. I'm probably going to scale the fridge. We might scale this car and try and get an idea what the real weight difference is between them. The dyno database said this car was 3750 or something with driver, so that's like 3550 or something like that.
Right.
The Mustang's 300 pounds less, and as a rough rule of thumb in the quarter on cars in this class, 100 pounds is equal to a tenth.
Right. Yep.
That's a rough rule of thumb. I would also say a rough rule of thumb is 10 wheel horsepower is equal to a tenth on cars in this class. I mean, it doesn't apply necessarily to you know, hitter cars, but stuff like this it is. So, you know, you got 10 more horsepower and or maybe 15 and
But more weight.
a couple 100 pounds more. I bet these cars, same gears, all that, I bet these cars are a dead heat.
Yeah.
And honestly, it probably doesn't even come down to driver because they're automatic.
They're automatics, exactly.
Whatever. I don't smoke, but this is the kind of cars you can smoke a cigarette while you're ripping down the quarter mile. No problem. Run the exact same time every time.
Yeah.
Dial it into a hundredth. I've seen a few comments. It's not really a fair comparison to compare the 350 Chevy to the 302 5-liter Ford because there's a significant displacement advantage for the Chevy. And it's true, those cars make more torque than the Mustang does. In truth, they've always been quite a close match, and I think that the real comparison is between the 350 and the 5-liter Ford. And I know when I was running on the drag strip, I was never concerned about pitting a 5-liter Mustang against a 350 equipped Camaro. And you can see from these numbers, from a power standpoint, they're very, very close. And really in a drag race, what matters is the average power over the run, not the torque. So I don't think it's a particularly unfair comparison. Look forward to doing some more stuff on this car as we go forward.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was good. It was a good day.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell so that you won't miss out on future videos.